Well, this is something that prime ministers have voiced concern about for decades now. It's a problem, as you said, that we've known about. It is, though, surprising that Prime Minister Kishida would announce a sudden doubling of the budget for childcare related policies. So that is a big thing that people weren't expecting to suddenly be introduced without any debate in the parliament or discussion. However, the details about what exactly he plans to do in doubling this budget aren't yet available.
Tell us a bit more about some of the reasons why Japanese are not so keen on having babies at this present moment.
Well, Japan, like many other industrialized countries, has a birth rate that is quite low, well below replacement rate. And for many countries in East Asia, Korea, Taiwan, even Europe, Greece, Croatia, you have similar or even worse birth rates going on with similar reasons behind them. And these reasons are mainly that as countries become richer, people choose to have children later or choose not to have children. Sometimes they feel like it might impact their career. And then there's also, beyond these general reasons, reasons that are more specific to Japan, such as a work culture that makes it hard for women who get pregnant to return to their previous positions, an employment system that tends to have a strong gender division between full-time workers and workers who have contracts, who tend to be women who don't have as stable employment. And then you have cultural conditions at home where housework, ideas about equal sharing of childcare at home are also quite out of balance.
So, do you think this move by the government will work? What is the reaction from citizens, do you think?
Well, the general reaction has been that, yes, of course, the government needs to do more. But as I said earlier, there hasn't really been a lot of specific information introduced beyond what he said in this speech. He has said that sometime a few months from now, maybe in June, they'll work out the details. Sure, it sounds good to spend more money on helping people take care of their children, but what exactly is the government going to do? We're not really sure.
Well, another way to address a falling population is to increase immigration. Was there any word on a change of policy there?
Well, the Japanese government has gradually, over the last couple decades, increased its openness to immigration. It's been a very slow increase, mainly focused on some worker programs for agriculture and highly skilled workers. And there has been talk of new policies aimed at attracting highly educated, skilled workers, such as researchers. But we're not talking about the kind of mass immigration that would be able to offset Japan's population decline. That kind of policy would be quite politically impossible for this conservative government and its supporters. And also, there's also the question of whether Japan would be able to attract enough immigrants given its economic conditions and the state of wages in the country.
Meanwhile, Jeffrey, the Prime Minister also flagged more spending on defence. What are the details there and what reasons were given for this increase?
Well, once again, this is a policy of doubling the budget for defense from 1% to 2% of GDP. It's a historic change, a very big change, welcomed in Washington, welcomed among other members of the Quad. And it is aimed at increasing Japan's deterrent capabilities, obtaining, for example, Tomahawk missiles that could be used for counterstrike capabilities. And this is very clearly in response to the threat posed by a rising China, but also public opinion in Japan has been impacted by the war in Ukraine. And Japan is a neighbor of Russia with a territorial dispute with Russia. And of course, we also have North Korea's missile launches continuing to occur. So Japan is in a very dangerous neighborhood. So this is a change that had been expected for some time, but it is quite a sudden big doubling. Once again, the sudden doubling is more surprising than the fact that spending increased.
So it's going to be a popular move among Japanese, and how's the government going to raise the money?
Well, those two questions really are tied together. At first, the public opinion polls quite clearly showed that people thought that yes, the government should increase defense spending. Over 50, close to 60% of people saying yes. But then when you ask them how to pay for it, almost nobody wants taxes to be increased. But that's exactly what Prime Minister Kishida has said he plans to do. He wants to rise taxes up, perhaps corporate taxes, keep in place some other temporary taxes that were supposed to expire. And as the months go on, we'll see if the unpopularity of taxes will impact support for these spending increases.
Just finally, what's the new capitalism policy that the Prime Minister said he's pushing forward?
Well, since Kishida became Prime Minister, he's talked about this so-called new capitalism aimed at increasing worker wages, perhaps redistributing wealth in some way. He's mentioned investments that will be made. But this is a very vague policy. And in the past, when he started to talk about details of it, he quickly retreated when he encountered opposition from his own party, which is a pro-business conservative party. So it's unlikely that this new capitalism will actually materialize into anything new.
Really interesting to talk. Jeffrey Hall, thanks so much.
Thank you.